Okay, now we're going to set up the avatar to follow our movements. There is two ways to do that. One way is to use the trackers with SteamVR. You can use either your controllers or trackers like this. You can even use base stations or your HMD if you have one plugged in. This works with HTC Vive and should also work with any other SteamVR compatible device. So this is one way. The other way is to use Tobii eye tracking if you have it. I have it running right now. As you can see my eye movements. Okay, I have SteamVR running. I'm going to launch SUVA. I confirm. I have the configuration set up and I choose 1080p and windowed mode for now. I hit play. SUVA loads. We load back in the default avatar and we're going to choose default start again. Let's go back and choose our newly created avatar. Here you can see the avatar we imported in the earlier tutorial. And for now, let's explain all these options we have here. Right now this avatar is not tracked at all. You can see eye movements are already being applied because the tracker is running. As you can see, if I try to move the cursor outside of the window, it's not possible right now. You can change the cursor behavior by pressing Alt and C. This allows you to go out of the window if you want. If you hit it again, the cursor gets centered right in the middle of the screen. If you do it again, it is locked to the window again. You can toggle between these three states. And if you hit Control V, the cursor becomes invisible, if you need that ever. Okay, that was that. Here we have now the option to change the virtual floor of the avatar where it is standing on. You can change the static position of the arms if the arms are not tracked by any tracking device. You can also change how high they should be, and you can scale the avatar up and down. You will need these to calibrate the avatar to your body size. Let's reset all these values and let's set up tracking. If we go back and go to the tracking window, you have three options: head, right arm and left arm. Let's set this one up for only head tracking right now, and if you click this, it will by default only find the Tobii tracker. If we press refresh tracker list up here, it will detect all the other trackers. This will track not only the Tobii tracker but also the null model in my case right now because I have no headset attached. Then the Vive trackers, in my case 3 Vive trackers, head, left hand and right hand. Which order you have to figure out by trying which one is which. So for now I'm using the Tobii tracker only, and it immediately starts tracking my head, and I can adjust how fast it should follow my movements. This is really choppy because the Tobii tracker is not very accurate, so if you want to smooth out the movement you can lower this value and the movement becomes much smoother. Same for rotation. If you want really fast rotation, it looks like this, and if you want to smooth it out, lower the value and it becomes much smoother. This is one way to have tracking enabled, but it's limited to head only, and as you can see you can't choose trackers for the hands. One thing you might encounter when you load this tracker in and the avatar is not where you saved it, what you can do is you can go to camera and this value gets turned to 0 as soon as you choose a Tobii tracker. So what you want to do is you turn that on for a bit, wait and turn it back to 0, and then you scroll back to where your avatar is. This is a small workaround, but it helps. So that is a tracked avatar, and it is the cheap way to get the tracking, but it's one way. To get more accurate tracking, what you want to do is you choose your SteamVR compatible trackers, because these are much more accurate. So now we're going to try and figure out which one of these is for the head. As you can see, this one is the tracker for the head. Next, the left hand, this one. It is not this one, this is the head, as you can see. It is either this one is the right hand as it looks like, and this one is for the left hand. On this one is for the right hand. Okay, I found it. but this looks not right. So next we're going to scale the avatar up a bit for now. So you can see if I stretch out my arms, they are far away from the avatar's heads. To figure out where the front is, you can nod towards your monitor and see that I'm also nodding towards my monitor in here. So for now I'm going to scale up the avatar. And I want to scale up to a point where the trackers no longer move further away from my hands as I do this. So I need to scale it up maybe a tiny bit more, and that looks fine, mostly. So now we're going to fix this mess. I give myself a bit of room by putting the floor somewhere so that the legs are slightly bent and I can basically move the head up and down and have room, because the avatar can't get off the virtual floor. So I let it leave it like this, and now I go back and there is the calibration window. If I go in here, we have the option to select the body part we want to calibrate, and we can reset the position and the rotation. As you can see, the head is really off. I'm choosing the head now, and as you can see, there is calibration controls. If you hit G, you toggle the movement mode. If you toggle R, you toggle the rotation mode. And if you are in one of these modes and hit these keys, you can lock the rotation or movement to a specific axis. And if you click with the left mouse button, you can confirm the change. You can also change the coordinate system to either Unity or Blender. I prefer Blender. So what I'm going to do now, first I'm going to rotate the head. To do that, I hit R on my keyboard. You can see these gizmos, and if you move the mouse now, the head is going to rotate. I want to rotate the head upwards, so I'll hit escape for now and rotate the camera so that I'm seeing the avatar from the left side. Then I hit R again, and I want to rotate it around the red axis. So in that case, that should be Y. I hit the Y, no, that's not Y. The green axis, I want the green axis, okay. I hit the green axis, rotate the head around the green axis by moving the mouse. And if it's there where I want it, I just click with the left mouse button. Okay, as you can see, the head is slightly tilted now. I hit R again, and this time I want to rotate around the red axis. I'll try the different keys, in this case it's X, and I'll straighten it out. And I click with the left mouse button to confirm. Next thing, the tracker is not really where it's on my real head, so I'm hitting G and I'm moving the head down a bit to roughly where it is on my head. As this avatar's head is much bigger now compared to my real head, I'm moving it somewhere here so that the neck matches roughly my neck. If I do this and the neck doesn't move too much, this is roughly where it's supposed to be. Okay. This is for the head for now. It's a bit back, so I'm moving it with G a bit forward and confirm. Same thing we're going to do for the hands. I have my trackers on the back of my hand. How you attach your trackers to your hand depends on you. Either you have track straps or you use duct tape or whatever. In my case, I use socks, which I poked some holes into. I'll start with the right hand. And for now, I go into top view and rotate it around the blue axis, which is the Z axis, and rotate it a bit, left click with the mouse to confirm, and I'll move them a bit back. Now the left arm, top view again, I'll rotate it around the Z axis, the blue one, and move it back a bit. This can take quite a while for you to figure out and how tweak it to your liking. So this will do for the first attempt. This is not too perfect. As you can see, if you spend more time, you will be able to improve this a lot. This one also has only those 3 emotes I created. If you have, for example, an emote that has a pointy finger, you can put them like this and hold one like that, press G and adjust the position and stuff like that. So do this and rotate the fingers around the finger and hold whichever one you want to move up or down, hold it in position, hit the corresponding key and correct the movement. It shouldn't take longer than maybe 10 to 20 minutes, but you only have to do it once. If you're happy with the setup you created, you go back and adjust the floor height again to make it maybe roughly stand with slightly bent legs. And now you can hit save. This looks fine. I'm noticing that the avatar scale is maybe a bit too big, so I'm scaling it down a bit. This looks fine now, mostly. I can see my right hand isn't pointing straight. I'm going back to calibration, right arm. I point straight away from me, hit R. This locks the tracker in position, and now I can rotate around the red axis and straighten it out a bit. And as soon as I left click with the mouse, it's being applied. That may be a bit better. Okay, that is basically it for tracking. Now we hit save, and now we can go to the next tab. Here we have the camera, and here you can change, or you see in real time, the position offset of the camera with these numbers here. You can also reset this, and it will go back to the default position. But I wanted to have it like this. You can also zoom in or zoom out, and you can, as you can see with the scroll wheel, move the camera closer and further away from the avatar. So you're pretty much free to do whatever you want with these camera controls. As you can see, you also have the follow speed over here. If you set it to 0 and you start moving your head, it won't follow. If you set the movement speed really high, it will follow every movement of your head. So you can use this to keep the camera always following you. Okay, this is that. I'll set it to 0 for now. I'll go back, and here we come to the eye tracking tab. Here we have a few options. We have blink speed. This is basically how fast is it going to blink. If we set it really fast, it will blink really fast. If we set it to a lower value, it will blink really slow. The default is 30, which is fine. The threshold is the delay of how long your eyes need to be closed for it to detect it as a blink. Default is 50 milliseconds. If you decrease or increase this, it takes longer for it to detect it as a blink. If you blink now and have a really high threshold, it doesn't detect it as blinking. If you set it really low, every little notch detection of eyes, basically it detects this as a blink and it will blink. 50 milliseconds or 70 milliseconds are values which work pretty well. The movement limit, as you can see, if I rotate the head, the default value is 0.85. If you decrease this, you can see the eyes follow very far. If you don't want this because it may look unnatural, you can limit the eye movement. This is what this slider is for. The next thing is, if you don't like how sensitive the eye movements are, you can increase the virtual monitor distance. Basically what that means, this is the distance the avatar is away from the virtual screen you are looking at. So if this value is really small, that means the monitor is really close to the avatar's face, and if you look left right, for example, the eye movement is really strong. And as you can see, this doesn't look always right. It depends on your avatar. Default is 70 centimeters roughly away from the face, but you can tweak this and adjust basically how strong the eye movements will appear. I'm sticking to the default values for now. I go back, and next thing is lip synchronization. You have the option to make the avatar talk. By default it uses the microphone Windows is set up with, so in my case a super looks something, and if I turn that on, you can see the avatar is now talking. It uses the shape keys we set up earlier when we created the avatar. You have the option to see which of these Y-seams is being used. You can turn that off if it annoys you. This does not get saved though, so you need to turn it off next time as well if you wanted to have it off again. Yeah, that's basically it. Now you have also the option, if you want to have it, to hear yourself talk through the application. This will use your default audio playback device. So I'm going to demonstrate that really quick and how that sounds like. So if you turn this on, you can hear the voice coming from where the avatar is in the virtual space. So if I move this, you can hear my voice going from the right to the left, or vice versa. In this case, because you're looking at the avatar from the left to the right, you can pretty much do ASMR with this, you know. Yeah, so it's an option if you want it. It is there. Okay, I'm going to turn that off again. So yeah, that is basically the lip sync setup. And now we have networking. So this allows you to stream with two PCs. The first PC will basically run as a slim client with only sending your keyboard inputs like these to the streaming PC, as well as the eye tracking data, which means you have your eye tracking running on your gaming PC and the SteamVR and the other SUVA application and the tracking with the hands and everything on the second PC. So what you want to do is you start this on the gaming PC and you can see the server time basically. And if you start a second instance, which I'll demonstrate really quick, I choose a low resolution. This one is now the gaming PC, and we have in the startup menu, if we go to networking here, we can choose start sending eye tracking data and input. This will turn the window to a full screen window, and it will just send the eye tracking from this instance to that instance, as well as the keyboard input. That is basically it again. Okay, that was networking. Now we go back and we have the performance tab. As you can see, there is two options here. You can limit the frame rate of the application itself. By default it's 60. You can go all the way up to 10,000 if you want it, and can see how well your avatar is optimized, for example, if you wanted to do that. In my case right now I'm running at 400 FPS. And the other option is to decrease or increase the dynamic bone update rate. If you lower this value, the dynamic bones update only rarely, but you get a bit more CPU back. Default is 60, and you can usually keep these at 60 both. And last thing is on the about or help page. In this you find a small explanation, and you can find all the helpful links, for example to the GitHub wiki page, where everything is also explained in text. You can join the Discord if you find bugs or need further help. You can also watch the YouTube tutorials. So this is the link to the playlist, but I guess you are already in that. You can check for a new version. This will open your browser. Go back to the itch.io page where you received this copy. You can also find me in VRChat, me on Twitter and on YouTube. And if you feel really generous, you can also donate to me directly via PayPal. And on the bottom here, this one you already used when you create the avatar, and here you find the changelog. Here you can go through all the recent changes that have been applied. This will get updated every time a new update will come out. So the last update was probably one of the biggest, as this is the release version. As I think there will be more bugs in this application in the future, or things people want to get improved upon, those will be listed here as well once they are in the application. So that's basically it. If you want to close the menu, you hit escape. And last thing, if you now really want to stream using SUVA, there is something you need to do in OBS, for example. Let me open OBS up. As you can see, I am now here. And to add SUVA to your OBS application, what you want to do is you want to add a game capture and name it whatever you want. For example, SUVA 2 in my case. I hit OK, and now I'm going to select the application. In my case, I wonder which one it is now. Okay, it looks like it's this one. And by default, transparency is on, so you can take that. As you can see, the blue background disappeared. Now hit OK and you can place it wherever you want. So now I am twice on screen, as you can see. If I close this and this, you should see me twice on screen. Okay, another thing, if you don't want to use transparency, what you can do is you can go back to SUVA, hit escape, go to the camera, set the alpha to 255, hit enter, and if you want to use chroma keying, for example, with a green screen, enter the corresponding values: red 0, green 255, blue 0, alpha can be 0 or whatever, it doesn't really matter. As you can see now, this also turned green on screen. And now what you want to do is to make this work again. You go to your SUVA, you find it, and you add, if you go to properties, disable allow transparency, and right click it again, and there is this filters option, and here you can add a filter called color key. Hit OK, and now you can change the similarity value to make everything that's green turn transparent, and play with these values to turn the smoothness up or down. And when you're happy with the result, you hit close. And now you have the same effect mostly, but with chroma keying instead of alpha transparency. In my case, I don't need it. So yeah, that is basically it. This was a quite long tutorial, I think, but this should cover mostly everything, and I hope this was helpful, and enjoy streaming. And please, if you have like funny moments of your streams or whatever, please share them in Discord. I would be happy to see what you do with this and what people will achieve with this. If you have any ideas, problems, need help, or find things you want to have added, feel free to leave them in the Discord server as well. I have sections for those parts where you can add these, and I will look into them and see if I can implement things like that. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and enjoy stream your virtual avatar.